down that lane real quick.
Yeah.
Explain warrant of habitability, what's covered, and how does that, because warrant of habitability, saying it really bad, sorry, will get people into housing court. And that's probably very few times in which tenants are the people bringing the cases.
Yeah.
So explain warrant of habitability.
So I'd like to touch on this because this is something that my unit specifically focuses on a lot, where you have tenants who are rent striking. So the warranty of habitability is implied in every single lease, which is basically that you have the right to have a healthy, dignified, safe home. That's the premise. And if the landlord fails to provide a healthy, dignified, safe home, free from conditions, then they have, for all intents and purposes, breached the lease. So legally speaking, if you breach the lease, then there's no lease and the tenant doesn't owe rent. Now, let's be very clear. That does not mean that you won't owe rent. That means that they're going to sue you in housing court for non-payment, assuming you have a lease. When they bring you into case, you can raise the defense that they did not make repairs. And that entitles you to a rent abatement hearing where you would litigate and show the court that these are the conditions that have existed in the apartment for this time period to this extent, and therefore you should reduce the amount of rent that is owed. Me personally, recently I got a great decision on this, NYCHA v. Barrett, where my client was living in deplorable conditions in Queensbridge houses, New York City Housing Authority, and egregious. And we were able to get a 100% abatement for his particular conditions. We're talking really, really bad conditions.
100% abatement. You only really see that when somebody's totally dispossessed, of the premises because the conditions are that bad. It's
yes, tough. But that is an outlier, right? Likely you'll get 20%, 30%, so on and so forth. So that is what entitles you to a rent abatement. It's implied within the warranty of habitability if the conditions aren't repaired. The thing is, that's a defense. You have to wait till they sue you.
Now, it is like, I remember, maybe wrong or right, explaining to someone that if their conditions were really bad, what they could do is put their landlord on notice that they are going to withhold rent, which means save, right? Which means and I believe I read somewhere that you're supposed to put it in escrow. You could put your landlord on notice like, hey, I'm no longer going to pay rent until this gets fixed. I'm withholding rent because you violated this warranty. When you fix it, I will start paying rent again. And I guess in theory, if they fix it, you got to even pay them the back rent. Or I guess that's when it becomes, are they going to be abated or not abated? But you can do that up front. But then I guess eventually they'll sue you, I guess. Right?
Well, there's also HP proceedings. That's affirmative litigation that tenants can bring against their landlords for repairs. And, we saw a lot of that during COVID when, there was an eviction moratorium. A lot of legal service agencies shifted from...
Come on down! We're going to fix these up.
Yeah, we shifted from, eviction defense to, bringing, these HP and illegal lockout proceedings because, landlords were getting upset that they weren't getting paid and they weren't doing repairs. They were illegally locking people out. So everything got flipped on its head, and it was a really strange time in housing court.
Well, one that really goes to show that if the court isn't being inundated with all these eviction cases, we can actually hold landlords accountable. And I just want to put that out there. And that's what we need. Less evictions, more accountability on landlords. And secondly, even in the HP actions, you cannot raise a breach of warranty of habitability issue. That's strictly for repairs. You're suing to get the repairs done. Alternatively, you can sue for harassment, which under the New York City Housing Maintenance Code is broadly the repeated failure to make repairs in order to get you out of the apartment. And there's a lot of different fact patterns that rise to that occasion, but you can get monetary, compensatory, and punitive damages for that. But that's not the same as a rent abatement. You can't ask for a rent abatement in an HP action. So with the warranty of habitability, you specifically have to make yourself vulnerable and rent strike so that you can get sued to get the rent abatement.
Okay. And Go ahead.
So I actually did this once. This was my first apartment with the woman who's now my wife. So we left an apartment with like 8 roommates, and we moved into this place in Kew Gardens when I started at St. John's. And the apartment above us would let their like tub overflow, and the water would come in through our ceiling, and there would be like brown water dripping through the ceiling, and the ceiling was all cracked and messed up. And this was also like right when COVID started. So this was 2020, and I call my landlord, and we're writing them like texts and emails. So like this is all on record. But I'm also like just starting law school, so I'm in contracts.
With the wrong one.
Yeah. So I called the Legal Aid Society because I was like, I need to speak to a housing lawyer, but I can't afford one. Yeah. And they explained to me like the warranty of habitability and how I can call 311 and they'll send an inspector to my apartment and document the violations. So there'll be like a record from the government that these conditions exist. And so we do that, and I'm taking my Civ Pro exam at home, and my wife is just left to walk the dog, and the inspector knocks on the door, and I'm like, this could not be in the worst fucking time, because like I'm literally typing the exam, and I open the door, and there's this guy here, and he's got the HPD shirt on, and he's like, all right, what do I need to look at? I'm like, there's the bathroom, there's the roof, I mean, there's the ceiling, and I'm like, I gotta write this exam, and I go back, and I'm typing all this out, and then he leaves, and then my wife comes back, and she's like, did the guy come? And I go, yeah, he just left. And she was just like, did you show him around? And I go, I can't talk to you. Like,
Civ Pro.
Do they have personal jurisdiction or not? I don't know.
Civ Pro sucks.
It was awful.
Yep.
Civ Pro sucks.
But I passed and it's over. And then after it, I was like, yeah, we showed him around. It's fine. And they did issue the violations. But because of that, I had written him an email, and I was like, you are violating the warranty of habitability because there's water dripping from my ceiling, and it's gross and disgusting, and also a breach excuses performance, and I know that because I'm in contracts right now, and a breach on your end excuses performance on mine, so that means if you breach the warranty of habitability, I don't have to pay rent.
Yes.
And then a few months later, we found a new apartment, and we left, and I never paid that guy.
Nice. Good. How many months were you like, this apartment is unhabitable?
God, I want to say like 4.
Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was nice. But if you're dealing with conditions in your apartment, put the landlord on notice, put it in writing, send them an email, send them a text, call 311, get an HPD inspector in them, and withhold. And look for a new place if you can, but withhold the rent, put it in a separate account, or give it to an attorney, someone you can trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super important to like understand that like you want to save the money assuming that you have the money, because there is a universe where you're going to get sued in court, the judge issues a decision, they say, okay, you're entitled to a rent abatement, we're going to cut the rent by 20%, 30%, you have this arrears, they're just taking off the 20-30%. You still owe the remainder, so you'll get a discount, right, in the form of the abatement, but you have to be prepared to pay the difference, because if not, they can still evict you for the non-payment of that money that's remaining after the abatement. And that's actually a huge practical issue still for a lot of tenants, right? They still can't pay even after an abatement.